not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience.
Punch.
The comments heard on the View
Mondale's
from
laughing.
View
He couldn't help it.
Matt
It was too
McCoy
good.
and are not necessarily the opinions of his guests, his producer Garth, any one particular denomination or religion, the church lady, Mr. Lemke, Pastor Craig, or anyone else of sound mind and body. Now here is today's The View from a Pew, heard all around the world on YouTube. Just search for The View from a Pew.
All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Mac McCoy. I'm here with Steve Arntz, and we are getting ready for today's View from a Pew. And if you were watching last week, we started part one, and I'm trying to, let me look it up. How do we encounter angels? So we're talking about angels today. And Steve, welcome. Did you have a good weekend?
I did.
Good. All right, so I want to start with this. Well, first of all, you got a big word for me. That's the way you like to find out I'm not too smart.
Well, actually, I dumbed this one down a little bit. It's not too big.
Okay, what is it?
Supernatural.
Supernatural.
Yep.
What's the definition of supernatural?
Well, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's just relating to an existence beyond the observable universe. So, call it above natural.
Supernatural is above natural.
It's not something we understand.
We don't understand the supernatural?
Really? Not really. Except perhaps some privileged people. There are a few like yourself, but most of us may not.
Yeah, I don't.
It's kind of like Superman. You know, he was beyond a lot of people's understanding how he could do that, right?
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Oh, my gosh. All right, let's get going now here. And, well, what has anything like this happened previously in the world of supernatural?
Well, remember last week we were talking about the fourth man, remember?
Yep.
And the Ernest Shackelford and his ship being stranded in the Arctic, Endurance, and these people were lost, and 27 men came back 2 years later, and how in the world did they do that? Well, all three guys that were walking initially trying to find some way to cope with this, what to do, all of them felt the presence of a fourth man. So that was not that terribly long ago. So yes, things happen. But going back in history, there's a very clear example, and that's in the book of Daniel. And it's when Daniel was thrown into the fire, and, you know, the king is thinking, gosh, he should be dead. But the people that are watching this, you know, they're taking care of this, said, you know, there's four people in there. Actually, there's three people plus.
I think you're talking about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah, three guys are thrown in, not one.
Yeah.
My mistake.
Yeah, it's not Daniel.
Yeah, my numbers are off.
That's okay.
And anyway, that'd be hard to have a fourth man if you didn't have three, I guess. So I should really use my brain. So as a result of that, he says,
that'd be supernatural.
That would be unnatural. Okay, well, yeah, so supernatural, unnatural, it all kind of goes together. Okay, so you can determine how natural we are or what. That's your people's decision. But anyway, so all of a sudden there's four people walk around this fire,
Yeah.
and none of them are appearing to be in pain or hurt or burning or anything.
On fire, anything.
Nothing, no. And no flash in the pan here. So the point being that there was no doubt about it, the presence of an angel or somebody representing God in there with them, if not God himself.
Well, I always believed it was Jesus, but I'm not sure the scriptures said that.
I'm not sure they said that either. And isn't Daniel in the Old Testament?
Yes.
Well, see, Jesus wasn't around yet. So to identify him as Jesus would have been really difficult.
That's true. You're right.
And so as a result of that, I think it's very clear that I'll correct myself. I think it's very clear it had to be an angel because God doesn't really manifest himself directly. He manifest himself in different ways, a burning bush, whatever.
Yeah.
In this case, I think he's manifesting himself as an angel.
I think you're correct. I don't know why I thought it was Jesus.
Well, you've been mugged by him once, and ever since then, it's just been difficult for you. I understand that. It's quite a load to carry,
Thank you. So in Psalm 91, he says, he will give his angels charge of you to guard you in all ways.
Yeah, that came from an angelic doctor. Now, the Catholic Church before the Protestant Reformation, all this stuff, but they had these doctors. They still do. These are people that have demonstrated tremendous ability, mental and otherwise. And so he's the one that came up with the idea about the angels being appointed to men, and that they are here to protect us, and that's what you're referring to in the psalm, and that angels are in charge to guard us, and so that's where that term guardian angel was kind of derived. It's not necessarily God said you will have a guardian angel, but he has said that angels will be charged to guard you. So therefore, it doesn't take a tremendous leap of faith to go to guardian angels,
Yeah. Do you believe that we all have a guardian angel?
I do. I think we do.
Each one of us has one?
Oh, at least. The reason I say that, the number of angels is, we don't even know. It's maybe not infinite, but it could be any number he wants.
Yeah,
there's no limit, because they were just like snap of the finger. It wasn't like they had to go through 9 months and all this stuff. You know what I mean? And so I think easily. I mean, I don't think there's any limit to that. But at the same time, we're only speculating how many there would be.
Has anybody or anyone ever recanted reporting of angels recently?
Yeah. I think last week you were telling me about somebody. No, I was just kidding. Actually, yes. One of the things I want to go back into about reporting on angels, there's a fellow by the name of John Geiger, and if you fellas want to read an interesting book, it's called The Third Man Factor, and he recounts dozens of examples of angels.
Wow.
And so that's something, that's written in 2009, so I mean, something you might want to look at if you have interest in this. It's the Third Man Factor.
The Third Man Factor. Okay.
Right. But
it's John Geiger again, for those of you who may be writing that down. And Geiger is spelled Geiger.
Ger. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but there's been all kind of people have seen angels. Padre Pio was in the 20th century. And then we had Gemma Galagagi in the 19th century. St. Francis of Rome in the 15th century. Saint Faustina in the 20th century, and she had extraordinary relationships with their guardian angels. Padre Pio, for example, he saw his guardian angel. And this is interesting, guys. I mean, this guy was just an ordinary fella, knew one language, okay? And
he sounds Spanish.
Yeah, I think he was Spanish, and so he knew Spanish, right?
Well, just Padre.
Yeah, Padre, but he said he saw, so his confessor said, well, we're going to check this out. So he sent him letters in languages he didn't know, but Padre was able to read them all. And he said his angel is really amazing because he not only keeps task of him, but he also teaches me all these languages, because he didn't know any of these languages, and yet he could repeat everything. And so this is where we get kind of the start of the angel of God, my guardian dear, to whom God love, commit me here, every this day be at my side, to light and guard, to rule and guide. So that's been around for a while. You're looking at somebody in the 20th century, but that's where that prayer kind of originated, because he saw his guardian angel. How could you deny his not being there when you've seen him? You know what I mean? At least from his account.
Right.
Yeah.
So somebody sent him a letter or letters, and they were all in different languages that he could not speak.
Right.
But
and this was done by his confessor, his priest. He did that to test if, indeed, he could have seen an angel. He did that as a test.
So his thought was that the angel was within him, and therefore he could understand the language and the writings.
Well, if not within him, aside him. He was helping him. So how we want to interpret that, he says to be at my side. He doesn't say be in me.
But he wasn't aware of an angel there.
Yes, he was. He saw him.
Okay. Oh.
He actually saw him. And so, that's so you go into your confessor, and that's the way it's worded, confessor, and you say, I've seen an angel, and he was right with me, and we talked, or whatever. Well, the confessor is going to, if I just came in and told you that today, you'd say, well, knowing you, that's either highly unlikely, likely, or impossible, whatever the case is, but you wouldn't take it necessarily without a grain of salt. So being a wise person, the same thing with this confessor. So he came up with this idea, and he said to him, look, I'm going to send letters and see if you can interpret them. And he deliberately sent them in different languages, which he probably had to work on himself or had somebody else. And he was able to, boom, he knew them all.
But did the angel tell him what they said?
Yes.
Okay. That's the part I didn't
Yes,
get.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. He interpreted them for him. He said, he's teaching me these languages. I don't know these languages.
So did he describe what the angel looked like?
Not in my readings, he didn't.
Okay. All right.
If he said he looked like me or you, I'd really question that.
Huh.
But I don't think that's the case.
Well, I've always wondered about an experience that I had, and I think I've talked about it before, where I was at the Wailing Wall, and it was Christmas Eve, and I was praying to God for something, and the message that I received, and I didn't hear it, I felt it. I always make sure I say that. Because I don't want to sound like I'm special or something else. I just felt, and I think we all feel God's presence, especially when we're asking questions or when we're praying or whatever. But anyway, after I got that revelation, my buddy Craig and I walked into Herod's Hall, which is the old hallway that went from one part of the castle to the other. And it's now a place that only men can go, Jewish men, and it's kind of like their library. And as I walked by this little man, he said, "You are forgiven." And I thought, because that was just the message I got at the wall, was a forgiveness-based message. And so I turned around and walked up to him, and I remember bending down because he was very short, and his eyes, I'll never forget those eyes. They weren't scary at all. They I don't know, I just noticed something different about him. And I said, about his eyes, and I said, "Did you say something to me?" And he said, "You are forgiven." Now, was that an angel? Was that Jesus dressed up like an angel? Or maybe not dressed up is the right word, but I don't have any idea. But the eyes, I'll never forget the eyes.
Disguised.
Disguised, okay.
Disguised would be a good word. Well, it's certainly possible. I mean, there's another fellow by St. Francis of Rome, and he began seeing his angel constantly. And this happened after one of her children died. Now, this is a case where he was consoling her. And she described it this way, and this is kind of makes me think of what you're saying. The angel walked always before her, to the right of her, to the left of her, over her, and beneath her, always there to protect her. Think how encompassing that is visually. And by the way, I want to come back to something when you talked about you not being special. I know you, and you are special. Okay, so we want to acknowledge that first of all.
Well, what I mean by that,
I can't.
I think what happens to me happens to a lot of people. But we say, "Oh, what a coincidence."
Yes.
Or "I can't understand that," or "that was a miracle," or whatever. One of my prayers on a constant basis, I just said it today when we prayed at lunch. God, if you're going to reveal yourself, make it big. Because I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I need you to really make it big.
Well, and you've said too that coincidences is our words for miracles that we don't recognize, and that's sometimes true.
Yeah.
Now, another angel, Faustina, she traveled with her guardian angel, and she went to a misty place full of fire, where the great crowd of suffering souls. Now, she doesn't say what it is, but she describes it. And what strikes me interestingly is she says that in this she saw these people praying for themselves. They wanted help, but they couldn't help themselves. It was past that. And the guardian angel didn't leave her. She stayed by her side, and Faustina asked what was the greatest suffering. And the whole group of them said in unison, longing for God. Think of that.
Mm.
Now, if you were trying to make something out of nothing, this would be a lousy way to do it. In other words, there's nothing for Faustina to gain by saying something like this. You know what I mean? The likelihood of this happening, I think, is quite real.
So are we? I want to go back for just a second to St. Francis. You said something about her child had died.
Yes.
Is that a him or her, by the way?
Let me see.
You know? Anyway,
let me find out if I have that. I don't remember.
Doesn't
say.
All right. So, did she or he think this was his lost child? His child that had passed on?
No, it was consolation.
Okay.
Just consolation. Basically holding their hand, being comfort to them.
Okay.
Yeah. Nothing like that. In other words, these messages, well, the one going to what appeared to be hell was pretty involved, but overall, they're quite personal, very walk with me.
Yeah.
Very not super, super extraordinary, except the fact that they happened.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so, in other words, could they themselves be a miracle? Perhaps, but it isn't, they're not trying to perform a miracle. They're doing something to comfort that person, to walk with them, to give guidance.
Okay.
But that, that's, who do you think made angels?
Well, God created them.
But why?
To worship him, to be his, to do things for him. I don't know if that's the right way to put it. But
I think that's right. There's, see, last session, you asked me a question, aren't there different kind of angels? And I kind of hedged,
Yeah.
And there was reason for that. I just brought in some hedge apples, so it was fresh in my mind to hedge. But the point was, I just really didn't want to go into that because you're blowing my cover. I wanted to get in it this week.
Okay.
Because according to the New Testament, this is Paul now saying that the angelic world got thrones, dominions, principalities, authorities. This comes from Colossians 1:16, and he says the spirits don't have any bodies like he does. That's in Luke. In the Bible, angels can't usually be seen by human unless God reveals them. That's in Numbers, in Kings, and Luke. To answer your question, here's the types of angels there are: seraphim, and thrones at the highest level. Then you got dominions, virtues, and powers in the middle. Must be a 2-story house. And then in the basement, you've got principalities, archangels, and angels. Now, if you think about it, most of these probably were just angels over the years. And yet, the top ones are right at the feet of Jesus, chances are, at the feet of God. Full worship all the time. And probably, like Michael the archangel, think of that. He's second from the bottom. Think of that. According to this. So the reason I bring that up is we've just touched the surface on angels. We don't have an in-depth understanding of them because they're the closest thing to God at this time.
Yeah. I want to look something up here just a second. I want to look up where in the Bible it talks about those angels you just mentioned, the seraphim and the cherubim, because I remember there being some place in the Bible where they talked about how many wings they had and other features. So anyway, you go ahead and keep going here on this, and I want to look this up.
Well, and that's a good question. I should have cited that. I didn't. A lot of times I get into trying to summarize this so we don't go on forever, but that's a good thing to do that. Yeah, the Bible is very clear about them having spirits, etc. And I do not know how much of the other information is, I wouldn't say contrived, but and not fabricated, but assumed maybe or derived. Maybe derived is the right word from everything. I have a question to you, Mac.
Yeah.
Are angels omnipresent?
Well, how do you use that word?
Well, I like, are they everywhere?
Yes.
Would you believe me if I told you they weren't?
Really?
Yeah,
Seriously?
seriously.
What
But,
makes you say that?
well, because if you said it isn't, or that they are, it can't be right. So therefore, no, seriously. God is omnipresent, right?
Yes.
All right.
He can be anywhere at any time.
Okay, now that's not the same as omnipresent. Omnipresent is everywhere every time. Okay?
Okay.
Angels can be anywhere God asks them to go instantly, but they're not at all places at all times.
All right. So here's what I've come up with. I asked the Google, what do angels really look like according to the Bible? And this is what came up. There are 4 types of spiritual beings in Scripture: cherubim, then there's a malachim, and then seraphim, and Oprah, Opharianium. We call all of these being angels in proper usage, although only one of these types is actually called by that name in the Bible. All of the names of the angels are translations of Hebrew words, some of which give additional information about what these angels might look like. Cherubim and malachim are mentioned multiple times in Scripture. The Bible Project has a helpful video on this if you want to look it up. So you'd look up the Bible Project on your YouTube, I would imagine. This thing includes information on what biblically accurately angels look like and is worth checking out. So that's the Bible Project. And I would go to the Bible Project on YouTube and then look at angels. So, all right. That told me what I wanted to know there.
Yeah, and if you wanted to break it down to its 4, I was doing a quick check on this too, is if you just want to break it down into 4 categories, so to say, if that's kind of, if you want to look at this, the basics, and perhaps this is a better way to look at it, or easier way, but the seraphim would be on top, then the cherubim, and then the archangels and the angels. So you got, you can pick your medicine, so to say, but certainly there seems to be a hierarchy. I guess that's really the point of it, is that there's actually seems to be a hierarchy in the angels, and so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I had never known there were 3 different levels of angels. I guess the only thing I was aware of was archangels, because Michael was an archangel, according to the Bible, and then the seraphim and the what was the other one?
Thrones, seraphim, cherubim.
Cherubim.
Yeah, and really, is it important to know that? Probably not. What is important to know is that there's a lot of angels. They're here to help us. God uses them. They're extremely obedient. They make incredibly fast decisions. And the number of them they say, can be beyond counting. That's inference in the Bible. It just said there's just no way of knowing how many. And to make it more interesting, do you think we can really prove that guardian angels exist?
No.
No.
I mean, sometimes I hear people in an emergency or in a crisis are able to, let's just use the automobile. Let's say somebody's underneath an automobile accident after a wreck, and they somehow have enough strength to lift that car up and somebody pull it out. Now, I believe those things happen.
Right.
So I don't know whether the angels showed up and help him, or God just showed up and gave him, the strength that he needed to save that person.
Well, you get into what is somewhat, again, is it unnatural or supernatural? Good question. And we really don't know, but there certainly seems to be times that angels come. The Bible, even though it infers, like with Daniel, that you have somebody in there, right? It doesn't necessarily prove that's an angel. It proves that it's somebody. We don't know what, And so is there any definitive proof in the Bible other than it says there are angels? Not necessarily.
Well, Daniel 10 gives us the best description of biblically accurate angels. Daniel describes them as like men, but having shining qualities to them. Their skin resembles topaz and burned bronze. Not burn. Yeah, Burnnished. Then Revelation 10 gives us detailed description of at least one angel. Verse 1 in Revelation 10 says, this angel was robed in a cloud with a rainbow above his head. His face was like the sun, and his legs were like fiery pillars. Then in the book of Hebrew, it talks about people have encountered angels without knowing it. This means it is possible for angels to look like anyone they want to look like.
Well, I think part of what's going on here is that since we yearn for God, we yearn for his being, but also we seem to yearn for the angels in some degree as well. And maybe that's the essence of proof, is what we're yearning for must exist or we wouldn't yearn for it.
Well, in Isaiah 6, God appears to Isaiah in a vision. He sees these burning creatures that have 6 wings and are praising God. Other than having 6 wings, the only thing we know about these creatures is they have several faces and feet. Also, because they use their wings to cover them.
Well, like you say, it can come any way possible.
Yeah. And that all comes from the Bible Project.
Now you asked me last week something, so I want to ask kind of on an adjunct to that. Are angels powerful?
Angels, you mean strength?
Just power.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, but why not? I mean, if God needed a powerful creator or creation to do something, he can do whatever he wants.
You asked me.
That's not a good answer.
No, it's fine. You asked me last week which are more powerful, which are more important in heaven, angels or human beings. Remember?
Yes.
And it was kind of a trick question, but I answered it to your satisfaction. I said human beings. So what it means is that angels now, before we go to heaven, are more powerful. But once we get there, because of what we've gone through, because we've chosen Jesus, not just here you are, and because we have a body, we're more of an image of Jesus and so on, we'll have more power than the angels. Now, if you think about that, that's pretty neat to know, because that means that we'll be given a lot of power, a lot of influence, a lot of freedom, total freedom.
Yeah.
Within God's realm.
Yeah.
Which we choose.
I mean, I know people say this sometimes, but I really do believe God can do anything. And therefore, Machism 3, you know my Machisms, Machism 3 is coincidence is God's way of revealing himself. Or you could say miracles are God's way of revealing himself.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine whose wife was in a car accident and she passed away. And when the guy pulled her out of and the car burst into flames. And so when they pulled her out, she was fine. I mean, she was still passed on, but she wasn't burned. In the autopsy, they looked at her lungs, and there was no smoke in her lungs. They determined probably she had some type of cardiac arrest, and that's what caused the accident, and she was gone before it ever happened. The interesting thing was that this gentleman had given his wife this keychain, and it was black leather with a gold
Insignia?
yeah, or like a coin on it. And when they went to clean out the car, they found that, and it had not been burned.
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, this is a friend of mine. Okay, and he carries that with him now because he thinks perhaps that's something that God wanted him to be able to retrieve to remember it was his wife.
You know, there's cases of people being exhumed years later, especially when they're doing something with saints and such, and they're not at all affected. It's not decomposing at all. So, you know, things of this nature, that beyond our understanding, and that's what we call a miracle, I think.
I'll tell you an interesting story, and I witnessed this. Have you ever heard of Wilbur? What do they call them? The things that go in the ground that they put the casket in, vaults.
Vaults, yeah.
Wilbur vaults are made in Des Moines, Iowa, where I used to live. And Wilbur vaults got permission from someone's family who had died. This man had died, and they got permission to exhume that body 50 years later because they wanted to take a look if their vaults had truly preserved this body. Well, I'm there. I'm looking at this. Okay, this you don't unsee this stuff, but it was perfect. Just almost perfect. The fingertips had started to turn a little black. The tip of the nose had gone black. But even when they undid his shirt or whatever he had on, there were no markings there, except there was a little bit on the end of his breasts.
Now, is that due to their vault being so tight?
I don't know.
That's a good question, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, vaults came into use because when they would exhume some bodies for medical reasons or whatever, all they'd have is bones, and what was left of the clothes.
Mm-hmm.
But this man had been dead for 50 years, and I'm talking not even past the fingernail. Just the tips of their fingers had gone black.
That's amazing. I can't imagine. I mean, maybe you would have to have no air, nothing in there to cause any deterioration.
Well, and also the moisture. When a casket, you can open a casket, you can't open a vault. Once the casket is in the vault, they seal that vault, so it has to be broken.
It's a sealed
to get into it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So when we put our mom and dad to rest a few weeks ago, they were cremated, but yet you still put them in a vault, and that vault is sealed forever. Because I asked, could we maybe dig them up with the ashes and put my ashes in there with them or my sister's? No, the funeral director said, once we seal that, you'll have to break it to get it out.
Amazing. Now, a question from your point of view, because that's certainly an interesting experience. Do you think that the vaults are that good, or might that mean too that there's a little bit of a miracle happening? I don't know the answer.
I don't know. I don't know.
It doesn't really matter. I don't know.
I mean, why would God perform a miracle so a guy could prove his vaults were good? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I probably not.
Yeah, because God will have no use for our bodies when we go up to heaven. We'll get our new bodies, and they'll be perfect in every way. One of the ways that is interesting, do you remember after Jesus was resurrected and he showed up in the upper room, Thomas, which we know as Doubting Thomas,
Correct.
just couldn't see that was Jesus. I can't be Jesus. And so Jesus took his hand, it says in the Bible, and put Thomas's hand in one of his wounds where they took the knives and to cut him, and that's where the term doubting Thomas comes from.
And I think Thomas said, "My Lord and my God," at that point.
Yes,
In other words,
knew.
and then of course Jesus said, "Now, I don't know how he said it exactly, but he says, bless those that didn't need to put their hand in my side, that believe it just because it has happened,
Because he
had
said it
faith,
happened. Yeah.
had faith." And so, we were talking earlier about the angels and what they do. Other than being messengers and everything, one of the things to consider, they're supposed to be mentors for us on two levels. One is worship, and the other is obedience.
Yeah.
That's key, because if we obey God, we're going to want to worship him. I mean, they go all together. If we worship him, we're going to obey him. I mean, it's all inclusive. If an angel did nothing but that, why would he be wanting to do anything else if he's with God, right?
Yeah.
Hard for us to think of it that way. It sounds boring if you're just going to sit there and sing all day, but it's probably not quite that way.
But don't you think that angels know why they were created, and that was to be that messenger to human beings?
Well, I don't think that was the reason per se they were created. I think the first reason was the very thing we talked about, and that's to glorify God and be obedient. And as we know, Satan was not obedient.
Right.
So
he wanted to be his own God.
He wanted to be his own God. And so the question then is, we talked about two things angels do, or maybe three. We talked about messengers, comforters, and worshipers, actually three. But one thing, there's two others we didn't cover. One is to carry out some of God's judgments. Remember when had to kill the oldest child and all that? That was the angels. So they're involved in carrying out judgments that God makes. So that's another function. Another one, they will actually war. Even taking the case against Satan himself. They'll go to war for God.
Yeah.
In whatever capacity that may be. Maybe, and I'm only guessing, I'm just as off the cuff, but maybe Armageddon will be that time where they will go to war.
Well, the war of angels, we've heard that in the Bible.
Yeah, if God's going to win, and he will, when God wins out the end, in all ways, all things, obviously his will be done, and whatever it takes, that will happen.
In the book of Revelation, an angel warns John not to worship him. You must not do that. I am a fellow servant with you, and your brethren who hold the testimony of Jesus worship God.
What is he telling us? What is so key there? He's telling us to be humble before God. That is so significant because there's no pride there. There's no ego. There's nothing like Satan there. Just the opposite.
Yeah.
That is really important. I mean, the difference between Satan and what we're supposed to be is 180 degrees and then some. It's just totally different ways. And I think that's really neat because if he was trying to say, yeah, I want you to worship me because next to God, I'm right there, I'm your best. No. He doesn't do that. Not at all.
Yeah.
And I think that's very revealing, and that it has to be true. Why would anybody, there's nothing to bring glory to him, right?
Yeah, and this is going to be a tough subject to sell to some people, but I believe it wholly. Holy, get it?
Yeah. You're talking about like HW, WHOLE? Or H? You mean whole, like Whole Foods?
No.
Oh, you mean holy, like HOLY?
Yes.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you. I'm listening.
But that is when you meet a true narcissist, they have a God, and that is Satan.
Yeah.
Because they don't have belief in a creation that wouldn't be just like them, and they would be, what's the word? perfect.
Perfect. Well, yeah, you think
And
about
yeah,
when you don't believe in anything, bad things fill that void. It's kind of like if you don't have light, it'll be dark.
yeah.
It's just that automatic. And I'm not trying to have you guys, feel scared if you're in a dungeon or something, but that would be scary. But you think about it. I mean, anytime we feel we're cut off from light, whether it be in a cave, a submarine, that's cut off everything. I mean, or out in space. I haven't been there, but I'm guessing that you feel somewhat alone. You might feel God's presence, but you certainly wouldn't feel a lot of people around you. So, we're always yearning for warmth and comfort. And comfort, not necessarily like in human terms, but comfort in spiritual terms.
I interviewed an astronaut once. He lives here in Omaha.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I asked him what it felt like to be up there. Now, this man was a Christian, but he was not an acting Christian. That's maybe
practicing.
You hear the term CINO, Christian in name only.
Wasn't church going.
At the time, he was not.
Okay.
But when he was up there in the space capsule, he felt the presence of God.
Interesting.
And he said that I don't think it's the same way you feel it when you're here on earth and you think, the Spirit of God just touched me. He said this was just something miraculous. And it was because he was in space and it was dark. And the only thing he could see was light.
Yeah, in a sense, it would be nebulous. It would be very hard to describe. So do you believe in angels, Mac?
Yes. Do you believe in angels?
Well, I believe that we yearn for someone beyond ourselves and beyond the world to be at our side. And the word angel works for me.
Yeah. Me too. I always make the comment sometimes in Bible studies that I picture Jesus sitting right next to me. And every once in a while, he'll lean over and say, I know what you're thinking. Don't let that fall out of your mouth. Because that would be something I would probably do. I would say something stupid or something bad. And a friend of mine, when I told them that, and they said, that's not where Jesus is. Jesus is inside you.
Yeah, I was going to say, because if he's sitting on my lap, that would explain why it's getting harder all the time to get up. So I'm
a lot of weight. Heavy.
Yeah, I don't want to. I'm just very thankful he can lift the load.
Yeah.
And does.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, thanks for coming in today. We'll see you next week at this very time. Are we still going to be on angels?
Yes, actually, We're going to talk about our angel's ghost.
And for you that listen to our programs, we thank you. We love this job. We couldn't do it without you. And also thanks to Divine Truth Christian Church.
Divine Truth Christian Store, where you'll find more.